Welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Thursday, November 13th, 2025, the 317th day of the year, and the third day in a row that I've woken up to temperatures under 40 degrees here in North Orlando. And that's enough for me. It's also World Kindness Day, established in 1998 by groups of humanitarians as a day to promote random acts of kindness and compassion, which should be every day, really. And if you are not nice to others for some reason on a regular basis, at least do something nice for someone today. All right, so the longest government shutdown in the history of the United States is officially over. President Trump in last night's Oval Office bill signing ceremony.
Congress shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars for illegal aliens and people that came into our country illegally from gangs, from prisons, from mental institutions. They wanted to pay them $1.5 trillion, which would have really hurt our healthcare businesses and our recipients at levels never seen before. Today, we're sending a clear message that we will never give in to extortion, because that's what it was. They tried to extort. The Democrats tried to extort our country. In just a moment, I'll sign a bill exactly like we asked Democrats to send us all along, many days ago. This cost the country $1.5 trillion, this little excursion that they took us on. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. There's never been a time when one or the other party ever didn't sign a continuation. It's just a continuation, not a big deal. It's a continuation, and we'll talk later. Yet the extremists in the other party insisted on creating the longest government shutdown in American history, and they did it purely for political reasons. I want to thank Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, as well as House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and numerous other great Republican leaders and congressmen and senators who are here, who frankly spent a long time in Washington getting this thing to go away. I also want to thank the broad coalition of Americans that stood with us in this fight to reopen government, including the Teamsters, the American Federation of Government Employees, the Fraternal Order of Police, AMVETS, the National Small Business Association, the American Farm Bureau, the American Trucking Association. These are all incredible patriots. The Airlines for America, the Allied Pilots Association, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, and many, many others, unions and non-unions. Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not too distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass great, really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't.
Again, President Trump in the Oval Office late last night, carried live on Newsmax. And this is VA Secretary Doug Collins on Wake Up America with Charlotte McBride and Mark Lotter.
Reports say that this shutdown deal includes full-year funding for the Veterans Affairs Department. Does that put veterans' minds a little bit at ease that it won't affect the VA if the well runs dry at the end of January? Your thoughts?
Yes, it takes us off the table, and that's a good thing. In fact, the sad part about this is this bill was basically ready to be passed in September, and along with the other two that they actually had. But we had to go through and put veterans at risk and veterans' interest aside, and have really 37,000 plus of my employees go without paychecks as they try to navigate this, what has become a circus on Capitol Hill. So I'm glad to see that we're going to be fully funded through September. And my hope is that they get this all squared away so that the government doesn't have to do this again.
Yeah,
Mr. Secretary, prior to your current position, you served in Congress. And can you imagine just any political party putting politics over the well-being of our veterans or of those who need food, including mothers and children? It's just unconscionable to me.
Well, it's something that, again, I think this is a fight that many times you see on Capitol Hill for shutdowns, that you try to go after something that in this case, is frankly sort of interesting that the Democrats are going after something they, as you just rightly stated a few minutes ago, couldn't do themselves. And they put themselves in a box. And this is the problem you get into with positions like this. Look, sometimes, a few days, make your point, move on. This one drug on completely. And it was really disturbing what I was hearing from many of the Democratic congressmen and senators when they said the pain of the American people, and I take that as veterans as well, was their leverage. That probably was one of the most disturbing things out of this shutdown that I've really never heard before from Republicans or Democrats in any previous shutdown. And it just showed the vitriol that was really forced at the Trump administration over this.
Secretary of Veterans Affairs and former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins on Wake Up America. Rob Finnerty talked about the Democrats and played that leverage clip that Doug Collins is talking about right there.
And after 43 days of this government shutdown, we are now going to tell you exactly what Democrats accomplished. Drum roll. Get ready. Get ready for it. They accomplished absolutely nothing. Democrats did this for absolutely no reason at all. They accomplished nothing.
You reopen the government and we lose our leverage and they say, well, we want this, we want that. No.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
No, you don't. You don't take that responsibility seriously. If you did, you wouldn't have shut the government down in the first place. So no, you don't. You don't take this seriously. You don't care about regular people at all. You only care about yourselves, and you care about your career and your advancement in Washington. And we know that because they shut the government down not to help Americans. They shut it down to help illegal aliens.
The Democrats' continuing resolution included nearly $200 billion for health care, including subsidies for illegal immigrants, undoing the reforms that were just put in place from the One Big Beautiful Bill. And even with the government reopening, today you can still expect delays at some of the nation's biggest airports or busiest airports. The FAA is freezing flight restrictions at 6% as air traffic controllers return to work, hopefully, and airlines work through the backlog of delays and cancellations. Rob Finnerty also spoke with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
How old is the current air traffic control system? Just quickly, because I want to get to something else.
It depends. Radar is, from the 60s, 70s. We're using copper wires, but you use in the 80s to make your dial-up telephone call.
Right.
But a lot of it is, 80s and 90s. We need brand new equipment to build a brand new system. And what's beautiful is President Trump has said, you know what? I am all behind this. I want the Congress to give the money. And we are moving as safely as we can, but also with lightning speed.
Okay, good to hear. Again, this is the big one right now. We're at something like 20,000 flight delays and cancellations over the last week. Thanksgiving is 2 weeks from tomorrow. How long does it realistically take airlines to get back to normal operation?
So last weekend we had, a significant number of cancellations and delays. We had 81 staffing triggers on Saturday alone. On Monday, we had 53 staffing triggers. So it's created chaos in the airspace. So people who flew those days know how bad it was. but it is starting to get better. And, once we're fully open, air traffic controllers are going to be paid 70% of their back pay within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
I think then it starts to improve. It's going to get better, and it's going to take us probably up to a week to get back to normal, which is right before significant
the Thanksgiving
travel.
And you've got kids that have got to get home for Thanksgiving 2 weeks from tomorrow. This is going to be a big deal if people can't get where they want to go. The president has mentioned a $10,000 bonus for these air traffic controllers that never called out sick during the shutdown. Do you see that happening?
100%. This move was brilliant by the president. And, if we had air traffic controllers who never missed a scheduled day of work during the shutdown, they should be rewarded. They're patriots. As others were taking, breaks or sick leave. And by the way, I don't blame some of them. A lot of them, didn't have enough money in their coffers to pay for food and gas and childcare. All the expenses of life. I can't blame them. But for those who did come, let's give them a $10,000 reward. I love the president brought that up, and we are going to make it happen. We're going to use the resources, find the resources to reward those great controllers.
Soon, like before Christmas?
Oh, yeah. We have to find out who they are, and we will move that money very quickly.
So, Mr. Secretary, you are still the acting NASA administrator, and we have followed this comet on this show, Finnerty, for months. 3I Atlas, it's in our solar system right now. NASA is still refusing to release photos that were taken from the high-rise camera on the Mars rover back on October the 2nd. The comet, of this comet, and on the website it says, this is a quote, so any images of the interstellar comet 3I Atlas are considered NASA-wide news because the government is in a shutdown. Communications of NASA news have been suspended, but that's not true. They're publishing other images from this same high-rise camera on Mars every day. They did it yesterday. They did it today. Why isn't NASA releasing these images?
So again, with this comet, I think there's a little more complication in getting and processing the photos where with the photos you referenced, it can be automated and you can get those pictures up and out right away. There's more man hours that are needed for the pictures from the comet. But I will tell you this, we are days away from NASA getting full staffed again, getting our workers back into the office and getting pictures out to the American people. But NASA has, and again, the experts at NASA have said, this is a comet. It walks like a comet, talks like a comet, struts like a comet. It's a comet. I know some people have said, listen, there's alien life on here, or that at one point they said it was going to hit the Earth. Not true. But it is a fascinating comet, and we want to get those pictures out. And again, a couple days away from making that happen.
Okay, so that sounds a little bit like politics speak to me, right? A little sketchy. And I can tell by Rob's facial expression, which you can't see, obviously, that he feels the same way. Secretary Duffy says it's a couple of days away, so we will have to see. We'll hold him to that. But if you listen to the Newsmax Daily every day, like you should, you may remember this from a few days ago.
Okay, we asked this Harvard astrophysicist, Avi Loeb, who's been the lead on this for months, about something that you tweeted involving Kim Kardashian last week. Take a look. Sean Duffy just posted this in response to Kim Kardashian, of all people, saying no aliens, no threat to life here on Earth. Dr. Loeb, can we say definitively now that this thing has come out from the other side of the sun, that this is not alien technology? Can you say that tonight?
No, we need more data. We need to observe it. That's the way science is done. We should stay curious.
Mr. Secretary, your reaction to that, he says it's too early to confirm that this thing is not alien or intelligent in some way.
Yeah. So,
and you know why I'm asking?
Data.
It just seems suspicious that NASA's releasing other photos, but not the photos of this thing.
Listen, Rob, no scandal here. Again, Dr. Loeb doesn't have all the data. When we release it, we'll show you all of the analysis. Can I make one point on Kim Kardashian?
Please.
I responded to her because she has a huge following. And our mission to the moon, Artemis 2, is going to happen in February of this year. And then we're going to go back and actually land on the moon in a year and a half after. We've started a space race between Blue Origin and SpaceX. Again, they're racing against each other. It's fantastic. We are going to beat the Chinese back to the moon. It's exciting. And if you can get culture involved in space and in NASA, It's only good for the American people and only good for this next generation of missions that we're going to do, first to the moon, then to Mars, and then, to beyond.
Yes, and Mr. Secretary, you've been in this business, my side of the camera, for a long time. That we might call that a pivot in the business, right there. We might say that was a pivot. There's no
that was not a pivot. That was actually.
There's no conspiracy.
You mentioned Kim Kardashian, so I wanted to clarify that. No, there's no conspiracy theory.
You did. All right.
Transportation Secretary and Acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy on Finnerty. And that's what we in the business would call a great interview. President Trump has nominated Jared Isaacman as NASA Administrator, but 11 months in, his nomination is still pending Senate confirmation. Okay. And the other big story, of course, is the release of more Epstein documents. Some people will say it's not a big deal, it's not a big story, but it is. The content of what was released yesterday by Democrats and the timing of it is definitely suspect, but we've talked about the surveys and the polling in the past that shows more than 50% of America wants all of what the government has released. These were from the trove of information and documents that the Epstein estate turned over to the investigation after being subpoenaed by Republican Congressman James Comer, chair of the House Oversight Committee leading the investigation into the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. Then, Arizona Democratic Representative Adelita Grijalva, who was just sworn in yesterday.
Congratulations, you're now a member of the United States Congress.
I talked about this on yesterday's Daily. She became the last signature that was needed, the 218th signature on the petition to force a vote in the House on releasing all of the Epstein files.
Justice cannot wait another day.
Everyone knew that she was going to do that, and she even accused Speaker Johnson of not wanting to swear her in for that exact reason. Johnson, you may recall, said a couple of weeks ago that he was simply following Nancy Pelosi's practice of not swearing any representatives in or newly elected representatives in while the chamber was not in session. That was also featured on a segment of the Newsmax Daily. This is White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressing questions about it in yesterday's White House press briefing.
Ouija.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
I have your statement about the new Epstein emails that have been released by House Democrats. Mm-hmm. Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us. Mary.
Thank you, Galen. Two questions on this. In the interest of transparency, why not just go ahead, release the full files on Epstein, get this all over with?
This administration has done more with respect to transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein than any administration ever. In fact, this administration, the Department of Justice, has turned over tens of thousands of documents to the American people. We are cooperating and showing support for the House Oversight Committee. That's part of the reason you are seeing these documents that were released today, because of the House Oversight Committee's and Republicans' efforts to get these out to the public. This administration also moved, the Department of Justice also moved to unseal grand jury testimony, which we know, unfortunately, a judge declined those requests. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party for now they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown. And this entire thing, again, it's not a coincidence to the American people at home. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C., and it is not a coincidence that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning ahead of Republicans reopening the government. This is another distraction campaign by the Democrat and the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening because of Republicans and President Trump.
House Speaker Caroline Leavitt cutting through the politics and games as always. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C. House Speaker Mike Johnson did confirm that, yes, there will be a vote on the release of all Epstein files in the House next week. And Venezuela's defense minister, let's shift gears here a little bit, says President Nicolas Maduro has now ordered a nationwide military mobilization in response to the arrival of the USS Gerald Ford in the Caribbean, right? President Trump dispatched it a couple days ago, deployed it, the USS Gerald Ford. The White House says it's part of its operation against drug cartels. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
They come on boats, as we've seen. They come through the Caribbean with the full assistance and cooperation of the illegitimate government of Venezuela, the Cartel de los Soles, which is run by Nicolas Maduro. And they also operate in the Pacific.
We get more on Maduro from Greg Kelly.
What have we done? Venezuela has activated the 200,000. We have sent the Gerald R. Ford and who knows what other military assets to the region. If they want to pull something, they shouldn't. President Trump is not the kind of guy who's going to shy away from this fight. He'll fight it if necessary. He's never initiated a war, a true war, but he will if he has to.
The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America anywhere, anytime, and any place.
Very cut and dry, simple, direct, and powerful. Maduro, he's the president of Venezuela. I must say, I don't know too much about this character. I know he's a crazy dictator, but beyond that, colorful. He likes to do silly things and wear garish clothes. It looks like kind of like a South American Evel Knievel, right? Remember that guy? And yeah, bow and arrows and playing cowboy and Indians. You really would be making a mistake if you took on America, all right? Again, President Trump with his team. This is not the guy, Maduro, you want to be messing with. Next picture, right? You understand? I think, well, I don't know if he understands. I don't know. He's not going to dilly-dally and do things halfway like George W. Bush. You know, for all the tough talk, George W. Bush went in light to Iraq, and he went in late to Afghanistan.
Retired Marine fighter pilot Greg Kelly is the host of Greg Kelly Reports, 9 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. On Wall Street, stocks opened in the red this morning after the Dow Jones Industrial Average rallied another 326 points yesterday to another new all-time high, 48,254. Disney this morning posted mixed earnings, beating earnings on a per-share basis, but their revenue of $22.4 billion was a little short of the $22.75 billion that analysts had expected. And more than 1,000 union Starbucks baristas went on strike today across 40 cities. You may have experienced that already at your favorite Starbucks, calling the strike Red Cup Rebellion in protest of what they call union busting and the failure to finalize a fair deal. They say they are prepared to make it the longest strike in the company's history. The union probably will be paying them for the strike, but if they're not getting paid while they're on strike, it will not be the longest strike in company history. They will immediately return to work because they need the money. And you may use your Apple Card to pay for coffee. I got an email from Apple reminding me or, warning me about all the scams that are out there for the holiday season. Data breaches, text scams, emails, tap and pay. It seems like every day the criminals are coming up with a new way to steal our information, right? That's where WebRoot Total Protection comes in. With lightning-fast antivirus to identity theft protection with dark web monitoring, secure VPN, unlimited cloud backup, WebRoot Total Protection helps defend every part of your digital life, which is like all of your life now. And with up to $1 million in fraud expense reimbursement, 24/7 U.S.-based customer service support, and new text scam detection, you're backed by the most powerful protection that's built for today's cyber threats. So get cyber secure with 60% off WebRoot Total Protection only at webroot.com/Newsmax. 60% off, the biggest discount they've ever offered, only when you go to webroot.com/Newsmax. Again, webroot.com/Newsmax and get 60% off WebRoot Total Protection today. All right, be sure to keep up with all of today's news and breaking developments on Newsmax N2 and at Newsmax.com. Also, download the Newsmax app on your phone if you haven't already done so. The news starts each and every day at 6 o'clock Eastern with the Wake Up America Early Edition, followed by Wake Up America, National Report, all the way through Frontline with Carl Higbee at 6. Rob Schmidt tonight, Finnerty, Greg Kelly, The Right Squad, Greta Van Susteren, Chris Salcedo, Ed Henry, Todd Starnes, and so much more. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you as always for listening and sharing the Newsmax Daily. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you are listening on. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.